Hello and welcome to Best in Fest. I'm Leslie Lepage, the director of the La Femme International Film Festival, and this is a podcast for people who are interested in advancing their career in television and film and learning the dirty little secrets of Hollywood. And today my guest is Kristen Bedno, Vice President of Distribution and Marketing at Vision Films, a distribution company here in Los Angeles. They're dynamite. And I'm so excited to have her here because she is, wow, one of the most interesting gals that I've met in distribution that really understands the social media component, how to get the films out into the platform. So she really does know her stuff. She is a veteran of international and domestic marketing and distribution in film and television space. She oversees the platform relationships with the VOD, DVD, US and Canada launches with the filmmakers that they, bring under the fold of Vision Films. She used to be at Starz and Lionsgate, and she oversaw the sales operations and the international marketing and publicity strategies for the worldwide distribution group, launching some of these amazing original series and Emmy Award-winning TV shows like Black Sails, Power, The Girlfriend Experience. So she really knows her stuff. And she's also on the Leadership Development Foundation Steering Committee for the OTT.X, which is OTT, for those that don't know, it's called over the top. It means providing television and film content over the internet to the individual consumer. And that's really an interesting acronym because that's really where, especially in this coronavirus craziness that we're dealing with, a lot of consumers are, getting their content in these internet streaming services. So, but let's really kind of delve into, because you came from these huge companies, Starz and Lionsgate, and you managed the, the studio marketing. How does that differ from that independent marketing that you're doing here with this distribution company here in LA?
Super great question, Leslie. I got to tell you, the difference is it's astronomical how different it is in the studio space when you're working for a company that has millions and millions of dollars to sink into promotion for a series. They're publicly traded companies. They're worried about their 10-year ultimates and over 10 years, how can we, make our money back and how are we raising our portfolio, as a company. So Starz and Lionsgate really is not just about their content, it's also part of their brand that they're working to promote, to a consumer level, which is very different a lot of times in an international or in an independent film space, because at Vision, we have previously not been about reaching the consumers. We are not concerned about building our brand on a B2C perspective. We're concerned wholly about the films, how well the films do, getting them out on as many platforms, working with social media, marketing, publicity to really, put that film in front of the consumer. So just from a very basic perspective, it's less important, or has been less important to us, to really push that brand to a consumer. And more important to make sure that the business arena that we're in, the international distribution, as a sales agent, as an international distributor, our concern has always been about do our counterparts in all of these various countries that we license into, do they know Vision? How do they know Vision? Do they recognize our logo when they understand us as a brand and as a company? So that has always been kind of the first and foremost, marketing we're doing. It's a B2B marketing. However, we actually have, since I've joined Vision 2 years ago, we're actually developing right now a really exciting new interface that will be reaching consumers for the very first time. So it's visionfilms.net, And on the front page, you'll be able to see, do you want international? Do you want domestic? And then as you're going into domestic, which will be for press, for domestic buyers and licensors, but also for consumers. So you can go to a single film and find trailers, still images, DVD art, synopses, and also all of these different links where you can click and say, let's say you really prefer to get your entertainment on iTunes or Amazon Prime or wherever. You'll actually be able to click on from that single page and go to every single provider. So it's a one-stop shop now from a consumer perspective to find a film that you really like and for it to reach you. The way that we all have a mechanism that we prefer to get our entertainment. So this is brand new for Vision, and it's something really exciting that we're hoping to launch in March.
Oh, yay. So that timing is perfect.
Exactly.
Now, so this is really interesting. Have you seen that that's kind of where this industry from your side of it is going? Or are you noticing that this is kind of the next evolution in distribution?
I mean, first and foremost, I believe our business is to other businesses, to license those films, to develop those key relationships with global partners, partners in the VOD, DVD space. But it's a new opportunity that OTT platforms are now. They're promoting themselves, they're promoting their films. A lot of companies you're finding are actually starting their own digital platforms. It's not something that we have in the works, even though we certainly have the library for it. It's over 400 titles in the U.S. and Canada. It's a lot of titles. So we certainly have the library for it. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying initially or asking initially about marketing. In order to start a brand new platform, you have to have a ton of marketing dollars. You have to have a dedicated team to build that brand out. It's one thing to have the platform and say, hey, look at this, it's beautiful. But unless you have the money behind it, like what a big studio would have, it's very, very hard to start your own platform and make it lucrative. So that's why, we've not been planning on doing that. But the idea of being able to reach a consumer opens up a lot of additional opportunities for us. Previously, we had always relied on the platforms to promote our films and on the producers to do their, social media, producer dollars going into marketing and ads, things like that, which is fabulous. And at Vision, we have these really great relationships with all of these OTT platforms, Vudu, Fandango Now, Hoopla, just to name a couple of those super, super strong relationships. Tubi is another one, and a super incredible AVOD platform, which is ad-supported video on demand. So we've relied on them to say, hey, guys, this is what we have coming up for the month of February, right? We're going to be focusing on Black History Month. We're going to be focusing on romance for Valentine's Day. And they would come to us and say this. And we would say, okay, great. We've got all of these great films that would fit within those niches. And then on the front page of the platforms, you would see, the way everything, kind of scrolls over. And it would say, romance films or, films with, for women or films with Black history elements and things like this. So the platforms would really solely be responsible for putting those films out on their front pages. And we're just crossing our fingers, right? Going, okay, I really hope somebody watches this because it's on the front page of the platform. But now, because we'll have our own website that's dedicated to a consumer, it allows us the opportunity to create our own promotions. So, for example, we did this over Christmas. We put ad dollars behind a lot of different stunts and promotions that we put up on, Facebook and the other social media platforms. We did a really great one for Valentine's Day. We did a great one for Black History Month. We have March being International Women's Month. We have a really exciting month for females and female-created content. So now having a place where all of these elements can actually live and we can send consumers to, we're not sending them off to Fandango specifically or iTunes specifically, because again, everybody wants to reach their content through a different fashion. But we're doing these great promotions that are now living on the site. And it can be, okay, if you want to see something for women, by women, about women, go here. And now here's this incredible list of all of them, and then you can choose your provider. So it's opening up a lot of new opportunities for us, which we're really excited about.
And super, super great from the independent filmmaker standpoint when they get a film under your fold, because that's just another element of them being able to point their promotion, their social media, and seeing a direct result, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely.
So how do you guys, how do you work with either the independent producer securing a film or the producer's rep? Like, do you like one over the other? What's the pros and cons for working for both of those, entities?
We have a lot of really incredible established relationships with both. There are some producers that Lisa Romanoff, who's the CEO and managing director of Vision, there are several producers that she's worked with over the years on countless films, 4, 5, 10 different films, the same producer. And those relationships are very important because we know that the product they'll be putting out will be a beautiful product. We know that they'll be able to deliver, which is super important. And we know that they'll just keep, supplying us year over year with exceptional content because we're doing our jobs as a distributor to make them the money back, and they're doing their jobs as the producer to provide us with excellent content. So those relationships are super important, and honestly, what Vision relies on more than a producer's rep. There are a couple of producers reps that we work with, and just this year, I believe we've picked up 2 from a rep. There are several from last year and all of the years previously. But again, it's the couple that we always work with. We know will be good to work with. They're good people. They're going to give us good content. Our reporting and everything, they're pleased with the way that we're reporting to them. Their producers are pleased with how they're reporting to them. So both is the answer. For me personally, though, I spend most of my days working with our producers, directly with them, onboarding their content, developing their marketing, working with them on social media, developing a PR campaign, answering questions for them about the distribution strategy that Vision has, because it's not one of those things that's necessarily taught in film school. And not to say that every producer went to film school, but just how distribution works is oftentimes just this, it's the wizard behind the curtain. It's not something that for your first rodeo you're going to understand.
That's true.
I spend a lot of time working with those producers and just explaining, this is what's going to happen now, and here's what you can do to get prepared. And then 3 months later, this will happen, and this is how you can get involved. And it's an entire process. And the distribution machine, there's not just one opportunity for a launch, right? It's not like a theatrical where it's this limited window with an expiration date. Video on demand and DVD, there will, throughout the life cycle of a film, years and years, there are all kinds of different windows and opportunities which can provide a new life for the film and put it in front of a new audience. So that's something that I enjoy more than anything out of my job, is making those friendships, because they really are friendships with producers. You're going to be working with these producers, and the producers will be working with myself for years and years and years. And for them to know early on that I'm available, that you can call me, that I'm going to answer all your questions, there's no veil. I want you to know everything that I know. I'm here to help you. That relationship established early on is vitally important for a long-standing relationship that you will end up working together for many, many films in the future.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this. You sometimes you get films from the producers' reps. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you already have the pre-existing relationship from the producers that are creating content, annually. And now you've got some films come in to you via the film festival circuit that you guys are kind of scoping out. Once you get that film, wherever it's coming from, what is your process? What are the things that you go, okay, this is step 1, 2, 3, this is what we need in this order, and you guys need it like super fast.
Yes. Wow, okay. Lowery, woman, lowery.
So I know that sometimes, filmmakers are going, I don't understand. Why do they need it so fast? And
yes.
and so let's talk about those steps, of what is needed from your viewpoint to make your life easier and to have less of a problem child in that educational purpose for those filmmakers listening in, going, what happens when I give my film to this distribution person?
Absolutely. I think the first thing, and this is even backing up a couple of steps, when you are in development and when you are building out your schedule, one of the important things to do that producers, filmmakers often overlook, because you're spending so much time and energy and money trying to get your shoot and, to as tiny as possible. And there are a lot of things that filmmakers will forget to do because they're so concerned about the production. Getting stills, getting behind the scenes images, getting your talent in front of a green screen, in their costumes, in their makeup. So there are assets to create beautiful artwork. While you have your talent on set and makeup, get some behind the scenes videos, ask them about their character. All of these things can be used later on to help promote the film. So once you have shot your film, you reach out to a company like us. We have a really fun Zoom call. We explain, kind of how everything is going to work. The next step is sometimes, and it depends on which day of the month it is and when we're planning on releasing it. But sometimes, and I'll give you a great example, on Thursday of this last week, we met for the very first time on a Zoom call with this brand new production company, and they've made this beautiful film that I had watched the day before. And, we had a phone conversation, and we said, okay, this is great. And they said, we love you. And we said, we love you too. And so we decided to release the film. But so this being, this was February, let's say 25th. All of the films for the next month's pitches, platforms have to receive pitches 3 months in advance of the actual release month. So tomorrow, I'm planning on sending out pitches, tomorrow being March 1st, I'm planning on sending out pitches to all the platforms for June start dates. So we plan 3 months in advance. And this is a requirement for all of the platforms, because they need to know, especially in the cable arena, the in-demands and Vubiquities and direct and dish TVs of the world, they have to schedule. And the VODs are a little bit more flexible, but there's no flexibility when it comes to cable, and there's no flexibility when it comes to DVD. We still do an incredible DVD business, but the concept of you've got to create the artwork, the film has to be finished and delivered, the trailer has to be done, if you're going to have any extras, and getting all of that actually authored onto, the what will be used to replicate all of the DVDs or Blu-rays, getting all of that to the retailers takes a long time because it's physical. It's not digital. You can't just throw it up on the internet and now it's working. So there are so many more deadlines for us as a distributor that filmmakers are generally not aware of, and those timelines, there's no flexibility, and the platforms will literally come to us and say, I'm sorry you didn't meet your deadlines, we have to push this to next month. And then the issue with that is, let's say you've only brought on your social media company for a month. Now maybe it's not going to be on iTunes, which is, it's a huge platform that a lot of people use. And it won't even be up on iTunes because the delivery was so slow, or there were issues with the assets, and you had to spend all of this time doing patches and back and forth and all of this. It can get really, really nuts. And so your timeline gets pushed back and pushed back and pushed back until all of a sudden you don't even have the team surrounding you right now to help promote that release. And that team that's surrounding you is vitally important. So from a delivery standpoint, that can also be one of the things that slows us down the absolute most, which is, again, why we generally prefer, not always. I mean, like I said, this other company, we just started working with them on Thursday, and they're lovely. But we know from producers that are established that their assets will be in order. They know the correct, film rates and the 23.98s and all of this stuff, which, again, I'm good at a lot of stuff, but I am not a technical person. But they understand that. That's what they do. They've worked with editors, whoever they're working with in post. They know how to deliver a film. And I can't tell you how many times over the last 2 years we've gotten delivery of a film that we're really excited about, and maybe the delivery was a little late. And then we're going through the QC, and it's such a hot mess. And now we need patches, and now we need this and that. And then we send it to iTunes, and iTunes has the most stringent QC out of any platform there is. Maybe outside of television. Television, is
and Japan, which is also stringent.
Oh, yes.
Crazy stringent. Right. So iTunes is like one of those first three.
Yes. And so we'll end up, back and forth with patches and fixes, and it's scary stuff. So, and one of the problems is that by the time a lot of producers get to the post stage, they're out of money. And they're trying to do it themselves, or they're, just this and that. It's all piecemeal. And that really, you have to have a film that's deliverable. If you've made a beautiful film, but it's not deliverable and you're out of money and you can't have an editor, or, your sound is whatever it is, always, always, always save money. A colleague of mine who's a great publicist, she calls it the oh shit budget. And that is the budget at the very end where you think you're done, and it turns out that you have so much post to do in order to make your film deliverable. Keep a little tucked into your pocket, y'all, because you will be surprised. You're going to need it. You're going to need it.
That's amazing information, because that's information that the filmmakers don't get. Like, they don't understand that literally you had this conversation 2 days ago with these filmmakers. You love them. They love you. You're going to go into a deal. You're already pitching 3 days later this film to the platforms, which means in 4 months, this thing is going live, which means that the filmmakers, have to get you everything by Monday of this week because you're already, you're already pitching.
The poor director, all weekend, he's been sending assets, and we're so fortunate that this company, if these folks hadn't had, their I's dotted and their T's crossed, we could have pushed it to July. We could have pushed it to August. It doesn't have to be in June, but because we saw how organized they were, because we saw they knew what they were doing, and they literally had a product and a film that was done and deliverable, they said, here's our film. And it was amazing. It was amazing. So initially, those very first, super hot button items, you need the film to be deliverable. It doesn't have to be final, right? Like, if you're still, working on a little sound or, whatever, that's fine. As long as there's something that we can actually present to the platforms, that you can send to us when we create, password protected links that we can send to the platforms. That's number one. Number two, of course, is a trailer. Trailer being really the most important thing. And a lot of filmmakers will make their own trailers, which, that's great. Being that close to the film.
Let's talk about the trailer just for a second. I don't want to cut you off, but the filmmaker's version of a trailer is not necessarily your version of the trailer, because you are going from a marketing standpoint. And so you guys 90% of the time maybe probably recut that trailer because you know what you're selling to, whereas the filmmakers don't, right?
That's exactly correct. And oftentimes it's the filmmaker, because you're so close to the film, you know the aspects of the film that you're the most passionate about, that you're the most proud of, and those oftentimes find themselves, in the trailer. But what we're after is, what can we put in front of the consumer that will make them want to watch the film? So you're right. 9 times out of 10, we'll make our own trailer, which again, and this Thursday example that I gave you, it's so rare, but they had a beautiful trailer that we knew that we could present to the platforms. But oftentimes, that's why, again, it's important to have a film that you can actually, get to us. You need your audio stems too, by the way. You need separate tracks, dialogue, music, and effects for numerous reasons, especially once you get into international. But to make that trailer, obviously you have to have your split tracks. So when you're in there or your editor's in there and you're getting ready to pump out that film, make sure that you've got your separate tracks. And this is a thing I think a lot of people don't think about. But again, to make a trailer and to sell into international, you have to have these separate stems.
Yeah, it just makes your life miserable if they don't have that, because you can't sell their film.
So we've got the trailer, we've got the feature. The next thing we're going to take a look at is artwork. And again, a lot of times producers will make, a piece of art that they feel is representative of their film, especially if the film has already been moving through the festival circuit. We'll find a lot of artwork that's very festival looking. The art that has all of the laurels on it, that has maybe, the images of your best known actors, but, perhaps they're just like a square image or something like that. Artwork that's for a consumer has to tell a story. And most often, unless it's a super large festival, a lot of consumers, they're not familiar with these festivals and all of the laurels and everything. It's not necessary. And actually, in fact, most platforms don't allow laurels on the artwork that we deliver them. So what we're hoping for is that the filmmakers spent that time, got the green screen photos of their cast, have lovely still images. And by still images, not like your nephew came with their iPhone and, took a couple of shots on one day of production, like real still images. Because otherwise, what we have to do to create artwork is we're literally going into your film and taking screen grabs. And that resolution is it's lacking. There's, you need something that's really high resolution, because you're ending up, creating poster-sized artwork. So that's another thing, is the artwork, those still images. We have metadata as well that's vital, because this is the consumer-facing information that if you go on Vudu or iTunes or Netflix or wherever, this is the information that the consumer sees. And a lot of the information it's easy stuff. It's what, did you shoot in 1969? What year was your film copyright written? What company, what LLC was the film copywritten under? But then there are things that are a little bit more tricky sometimes, like your talent, for example. If there are any contractual obligations, those are things you have to do your due diligence as a producer. Make sure that the talent is in order. And then a synopsis, which is, as we know, it's a make or break with a really great synopsis. And a lot of filmmakers, they will have already created some form of that. Platforms require, though, all of these different lengths of the synopses. And oftentimes, 95% of the time, we'll take a look at what the producers provided and say, it's lovely. It's not what we want to put out in front of the consumer, though. So then we're going through and we're creating these synopses as well. There are so many little tiny elements that go into even just being able to prepare a film to put in front of a platform or a buyer. So those are the things that take a lot of time, and what we spend, and I spend a great deal of my efforts on, positioning the film properly.
Now let's talk about social media. Okay, so you've got all this, you're ready to go, now you're launching. How do you guys work with the social media component to get that word out on the film? And are you looking for filmmakers that have a lot of social media following, or is that not so as important? My gut is that right now the whole distribution market has changed and that they really want people that have a huge social media following. So if we can talk about that, that would be great for those listening in.
Sure. I mean, if you have an actor in your film or a filmmaker that has 20 million people following, yay, great. That's awesome. Clearly this is awesome, right? Because this is built in, it's built in advertising. It's free advertising. Mm-hmm. Then in that case, for the the filmmaker or the actor, hey, y'all, look at, this is my new film, go here. And now suddenly the money is coming in. We don't really get that so much in the independent space, though. Somebody with like a hugely established social media following. But there are times that we definitely do. We've worked with this incredible filmmaker named Susan Kuchera on, this is her third project that we just released called Hot Money, which is executive produced by Jeff Bridges and has General Wesley Clark, retired General Wesley Clark, and his son. So there are tons of built-in social media opportunities for that. I don't know off the top of my head how many followers Jeff Bridges has, but he is so gracious and is constantly posting not just this new release, but, Susan's previous releases, Living in the Future's Past, which he was also in and narrated and executive produced. So when we have those elements, with built-in audiences already, that is one aspect that makes it easier to promote a film, but we don't always have it. And there are a lot of times where a film is gorgeous and the filmmaker is maybe new, or, there's not a whole lot of talent in it. And we're kind of starting from, the ground up, and that's okay too. Every film kind of presents its own pluses and challenges, and, there's not, and that's the great thing about social media, there's not one rule book, right? It's not A plus B equals C for every film. Everything is a new opportunity to do new experiments and to reach a new audience and to come up with different stunts and activations. And that's the fun part. I really think as a producer, by the time you get to this distribution side, you're going, oh my God, I'm so tired. I just spent weeks in edit and I didn't see the light of day, and you're just tired and you want a vacation. But by the time it happens with this, and we're talking marketing, we're talking social media, and we're talking publicity, and it's like a breath of fresh air. It's fun. It's fun to get creative with something that you know so well as a filmmaker, and then partnered with somebody who knows how to reach those audiences on so many different levels. This is the good times. And then you just get your release, and that's a blast.
Right, exactly. Tell us like a fun or quirky or maybe hard, whatever, social media something on one of the films that you did that you're really proud of, or maybe ended up being proud of, but might have been hard, getting it moving.
Sure. Okay, so I have we released a film last year called Wishman. And it was, Vision held U.S. and Canadian distribution rights. It's based on the true story of Frank Shankwitz, who was one of the founders of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I've known Make-A-Wish since I was a kid. It's this incredible company who has granted wishes for dying children in 40 countries and several million wishes granted. It was and it continues to be this incredible organization. And to be working with the man who came up with this idea was just exceptional and a true gift. So because it was based on his story, because we had his full and vast support, we were able to do just a ton of organic marketing, glorious publicity, national daytime talk shows and, top 10, syndicated, nighttime news things. It was crazy. And because everybody loved and knew Frank, and because he was so available to us, we were on The Doctors, we were on Deadline, we were on, some local, KTLA, and tons of publicity. And everybody wanted to interview this guy. And he was so available. And this is the difference between having talent who is available and is giving of themselves and their time because it's a passion project for them as well. It's something that they're proud of. This is the difference between having, Frank Shankwitz, who, a lot of people may not have heard of before, but they've all heard of Make-A-Wish, versus let's say you've got Johnny Depp in your film, but Johnny Depp doesn't want to do any publicity, and he's not going to do, radio show. He's not going to do a press junket. He doesn't even want his name or his face on the artwork, right? Now you've got a Johnny Depp film, but you can't promote that you have Johnny Depp. So this is the difference, and also a key thing for filmmakers to be aware of. The talent that you sign on to be in your film, make sure they're passionate about the film, because you can even write it in their contract that says, they'll promote your film, they're on board to do social. They don't have to do it, though. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to sue Johnny Depp because he doesn't want to do a radio tour? No. So, find somebody who's passionate about being in your film that is going to be on board to promote too, because it opens up every possible channel that you need to develop a film from grassroots to being a household name.
Okay, we got last two questions. So give us, what is your one piece of advice to those young filmmakers coming in to the land of distribution?
A lot of filmmakers will start making their passion project. That will be the first film that they make. There are different ways of going about that, though. Passion projects are oftentimes personal, very personal. There's not as big of a market for the film. And it's something that you can sink a lot of money into and not see any returns. So some people start out making a passion project and then later on go on to make things that are more commercial. I would posit, though, that perhaps making something more commercial initially would be your best bet, because your first film you're going to screw up on and you're going to go, oh God, I wish I knew this later. And the next film you're going to learn something else, and the next film you're going to learn something else. So by the time you then get to your passion project, you really know what you're doing and you're a really great filmmaker, which is going to give you the opportunity to tell your story better. And it's going to give you the opportunity to make something commercial that can make you money, that can create opportunities and relationships with other filmmakers. So that's the first thing I think to think about, is just what type of film are you wanting to make? If you, and I've said this before, if you spend $500,000 telling the story about your great-grandmother who is very important to you, but maybe not everybody really wants to hear that story, you should still make that film. 100% follow your passion. But just think to yourself, okay, have I just made a $500,000 family album, or have I made something that's more commercial? So just start there with the two different schools of thought and really make sure you know what type of film you're making and why you're making that film initially. When you are presenting your film to a distribution company, you should have a trailer, or you should have like a sizzle piece, right? Like a couple of scenes shot together that are really going to convey the best things about your film. You need a synopsis. You need a who's who in your film. This person was in this. This person was in this. You need to have it up on IMDb, because the very first thing somebody does before they even push play on your trailer or look at anything else, they're going to go to IMDb and they're going to see who's in the film, if they, recognize the names, if it's been in the news, how big of a deal it is. That's the very first thing they're going to do. And a lot of times, if you've got really terrible artwork up, or you don't have an IMDb at all, your sizzle or your trailer is the only opportunity. You've got like 2 minutes to watch, to impress somebody enough for them to invest in making a call, setting a call with you, flipping through your film, which honestly, nobody's going to watch your film before they have a phone call with you from start to finish. because we're getting, I mean, I can't tell you how many pitches we get just on a daily basis, right? You have to do something as a filmmaker to make your film stand out above everybody else. So blasting your film out with just like, here's a link, watch it. No, that's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. It's your job to present your film the very best that you can and to make it rise above and be interesting enough. Include some marketing points. This is who we think the audience is for this. This is how big that audience is. This is another film that was like this, that did really well. And don't say, I'm going to, oh, well, it was like Thelma and Louise. This film is Thelma and Louise. Okay, but it's not, because you don't have Brad Pitt and, Susan Sarandon. Like, it's really not. So you can't be like, oh, it made, $300 million at the box office. Like, be realistic too with what you're doing, But I think just positioning your film in the very best light that it can be and putting in that time and effort, and also do some research on the type of company, on the company that you're sending your film to. If, let's say I work for a company that only does horror films, I only do horror films, and you're sending me your faith film, why are you sending me your faith film? Because that's not what I do. That's not what I do. And you don't want a company to pick up your film who has a different audience and specializes in a different genre. Because, so Vision, for example, we focus on family, we focus on inspirational, we focus on romance, we focus on drama, a ton of documentaries, faith, but faith light. We have a niche. And so the buyers that we know on the international level, they know to come to us and say, hey, we're looking for a girl and horse movie, and be like, okay, buddy, we got you. Like, we have all the girl and horse movies. But you don't want somebody to represent your film that doesn't have that genre, because you're going to not be represented as well from a sales perspective. Your marketing is not going to be as keen if they don't understand how to market your film. Really do your research and dig in, and don't just plaster it out everywhere, because you're showing that you're not making the effort, and why should we make the effort then?
Right. That's just amazing advice. Okay, last question. So tell me a dirty little secret about distribution that people don't know that you can tell us about. A dirty little Hollywood secret about distribution.
Okay. All right. No, this one is important.
Okay.
It is important for you as a filmmaker to do your research on your distribution company, to look at the other films that they have released, and to call those producers and say, hey, what do you think about working with this company? Because you do hear a lot. You hear it a lot. Like, distribution, it's like the holy grail, and also it's like the most evil thing on the planet. It depends on who you're talking to. But a lot of people get burned because they sign up with a distributor who won't answer their emails, who won't answer their phone calls, who ghost you, who put the film out along with 20 other films that they're releasing that same month. They throw it against the wall to see if it sticks, and they're not putting heart and soul behind their releases. Do your due diligence. See how many films these people are actually, releasing. Talk to other filmmakers and say, hey, do they report to you? Do they answer your emails? If you call them on a Saturday, are they going to answer their phone? Because you don't want to sign up with somebody who's going to ghost you, who's not going to report to you. Ask them to walk you through. Ask your distributor to walk you through. Don't just let them say, oh, we're on every VOD platform. Ask them which platforms. Ask them how long they've been onboarded. Ask them what their relationship is like with those platforms. Do your own research and go on Tubi and go on Pluto and go on Roku and go on all of these other platforms and see, does this distribution company actually have films up on those platforms, or are they just giving you lip service? It is your job as the filmmaker to do your due diligence, because everybody is both excited and scared of distribution. But if you pick the right distributor, they will walk you through everything hand in hand until forever and ever, amen. And their reporting as well. Ask them to walk you through how they report, how often they report. ask them for visibility. And a lot of times, this is one of the most incredible things that Vision does. And one of the reasons I was so excited to start, we have a producer portal where any time of day, whenever, you can get into that portal. And as soon as we're getting a report from the platforms, that report is literally going into your portal. You can see everything that comes directly from the platforms, every single platform. So, and we report quarterly, right? So instead of you going like, oh, how's it going? Hey, Kristen, how are the sales, whatever. You can look in your portal. You can see it for yourself in between the times where you're getting your quarterly reporting. And this is an amazing thing because there's nothing veiled anymore. There's no secret. There's no special formula.
Yeah, what's great about Vision is you guys are very, very transparent for the producers. And because of that, it gives a security to the producers that isn't really done in the distribution global lay of the land.
Exactly.
So, that's amazing. I want to say thank you so much for giving us all this amazing information. Give us what's the .net that is going to be the OTT for Vision that's going out. Say that again for us.
It's visionfilms.net. Right now, if you go to the site, it's very, it's buyer focused. But at some point during March, we're planning on having our incredible consumer-facing platform with tons of different stunts and promotions and opportunities to really bring to light films that are new, but also our library, and give them a new boost.
This is going to be so exciting. I can't wait. So if you tap into the website and you don't see it, go back again later on in March and it will be there. I want to say thank you so much to our wonderful guest from Vision. I want to shout out to Lisa over there, who is the owner and operator of Vision Films Distribution. Kristen Bedno has been our guest. She's amazing and lovely and gorgeous human being and with a wonderful heart. So thanks so much for coming on. For all those that want to submit their film to the film festival, go to Film Freeway, find La Femme International Film Festival on Film Freeway, or go to lafemme.org. Shout out on the Twitter or Instagram for La Femme Film Fest, and go to our YouTube channel. This podcast, the visual portion will be there, and the podcast will be out on all the platforms. Tap in to Vision. Another shout out to Lisa. Thank you, Kristen, so much for doing this. You were amazing.
My pleasure.
And thank you for Vision Films Distribution.